friends, and welcome back to my channel if you've already been here before, and if not, my name is Yelena Crawford and I'm an intuitive astrologer. Welcome to my channel. Make sure to tap that like button below as well as hit subscribe if you are interested in all content astrological related, as well as things like spiritual awakening and just spirituality in general. But every week, every single Friday, I bring this forecast to you guys, which we cover the astrology of the entire week ahead. So I usually break it down day by day. This week, we've got like two pretty big events that I kind of just want to break those down so that I can spend a little bit more time on the significant things. And then we are going to go into a forecast for each of the 12 zodiac signs. And you can check specifically for your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. Make sure to check me over on Instagram, you guys. I've got like a whole nother set of astrological content. I like to do cool, beautiful graphics and artistic educational things for you guys over there. You can find me at Yelena Crawford Intuitive Astrologer. I'll put the link up on the screen right now. Also, I use the tropical Western zodiac with a mix and a blending of modern Western astrology and ancient traditional Hellenistic astrology, just in case anybody was wondering. And if I do give you any specific times throughout the video, just keep note that I am in the Eastern time zone here over in Detroit. Hi again to all my Michiganders out there and everybody all across the world, of course. But you can adjust accordingly with that time to fit your time zone. If you are interested in a one-to-one personal reading, you can go ahead and schedule those below as well. I'll put the link in the description box. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all of the housekeeping for today. Since we have a lot of information to cover, let's go ahead and get into the forecast. We're gonna start with the first big thing that pops out to me this week, which is taking place on Saturday, June 5th. This is going to be an opposition, which can prove to be kind of a challenging aspect. It's like a face-off. Could potentially bring some power and control issues, some struggles, some conflicts. This is with Mars, which is sitting in the sign of Cancer at those late degrees, 26-degree point, and it's in a direct opposition across the chart, across the sky from Pluto, which is in retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. So this brings with it a lot of passion, a lot of intensity, a potential for aggression, a potential for confrontation. It even has a potential, like on a more positive note, just to give us a lot of drive and ambition, basically giving us the power to kind of plow through anything, no matter what the opposition is, or no matter what is standing in our way, who or what is standing in our way, which can be a really positive thing. But you want to make sure that you're not asserting your willpower too much, kind of like reaching some sort of extreme, because both of these planets do represent some pretty big extreme. We've got Mars, which is the planet of war, aggression, willpower, assertion, which can bring things like conflict. It also represents weapons and all of those interesting things. And we are bringing that into combination with Pluto, which is a planet of intensity. It's a planet of power and control dynamics and struggles with obsession and jealousy and all of those kinds of things. It even brings in intense things like sexual dynamics. So when you combine these two aspects together in a challenging opposition aspect, you can only imagine the types of things that could potentially stem from that, right? One amazing thing that I believe is Pluto always wants to bring some sort of transformation, a death and rebirth process, if you will, some type of catharsis where a lot of stuff is drudged up within us. But with this opposition to Mars, it could prove to be a little bit more violent or a little bit more aggressive in order for this to take place. So my only suggestion is to kind of just roll and flow with the energies. Don't exert your will too much, trying to make things happen. Just kind of sitting back and allowing them to play out on their own. So even just with this Mercury retrograde, kind of like honoring your space, taking time to contemplate, sit by yourself, sit in quiet time where you have some time to think over things, kind of go internal, see what's going on within you, and maybe really think about the dynamics of relationships or whatever they might be that are playing out in your life so that you don't overreact, intense, and impulsively to the situations that are coming to the forefront. These can even indicate things like psychic attack. Pluto rules over the realms of that psychic, very powerful mental and subconscious realm where Mars is the aggressor, right? So we could even feel like we're getting some type of psychic attack right now. So it's important that you are taking that quiet time, even salt baths and things like that. I always recommend, because that significantly helps me as well. I would say also this could potentially play out as some type of domination amongst you and other people, whether that be in the workplace, in your relationships. Now, this could be you being the dominator or the perpetrator in a relationship. So you do want to watch out for that. Over manipulation, tendencies to kind of exert your will over another person, or that could play out the other way around where somebody could potentially be doing that to you. This also could potentially be intense, erratic behaviors coming from people, maybe even potentially in your family, in work, because that is Capricorn, but Cancer is family, it's home. It could bring up the themes of protection and safety and security on the home front with the family. Cancer, Mars in Cancer is like that protective mother figure, right? So these themes could all be playing out. I actually know quite a few dynamics. I know somebody personally who had to get up in the middle of the night the other night to go take part in kind of putting out the flames, putting out the aggression in a family dynamic that was playing out, and had to really talk somebody off of a ledge, kind of. So you want to just obviously watch out for this aggression, this obsession, this jealousy that could potentially play out. Overall, this is great for having a lot of energy as well, as long as you're using it in the right way. So if you need to maybe move your body, go for a run, work out, punch a punching bag, whatever it's got to be, if you are feeling a little bit irritated or erratic or aggressive or anything like that, just make sure that you're trying to move that energy through the body in a healthy way so that it doesn't manifest in something crazy. So you're not one of these people that has these stories, right? But I'm sure you'll be hearing this play out in other people's lives too. So this is also going to be in a square to Neptune and Pisces, which Neptune and Pisces is affecting quite a few of the aspects that we're having this week. So you could even potentially dream of things like this. I actually just got off of another video. I have a new show. It's called Galactic Origins with my friend Lisa, who's a channel and a medium. I'll pop it up on the screen right now if you're interested in watching. But she was just telling me about having dreams of war and combat and aggression and all of these kinds of things. And she's not the only person that told me this. I work with other astrologers and spiritual people every single day. And they were actually talking about war and different aspects like this playing out in their dreams, which I thought was really, really interesting. Now, Mars is going to be in a trine with Neptune. So I think that that could really bring in this nice spiritual dynamic and an opportunity to really transcend any of this internal aggression or some deep subconscious themes of power, control, whatever it might be that's playing out in our everyday lives and maybe blocking us from achieving what it is that we're setting out to achieve. So with this Neptune trine, it could bring in some harmony. It could bring in an opportunity to really transcend this with maybe a spiritual practice or maybe a creative outlet, or just sitting back and listening to your intuitive nudges that you're getting and kind of following those sensations in the body of whether you should or should not react to certain situations. But I think that's enough to spend on that aspect, because I really want to get into the eclipse, which is very, very exciting. I always love eclipses, and we've been in this in-between portal, which I talked a lot about last week. If you're interested in learning, because I think that it's really important to know about the eclipses in the pair, right? Because this is a story that's kind of unfolding and playing out. So if we don't know what the beginning energy of eclipse season was, then it's hard for us to kind of segue into the next eclipse without knowing what's really being expected of us, which is a letting go. It's a surrendering, it's a release, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are already kind of starting to see these themes play out in your lives. You might even think that this is old news potentially, but if you are interested in kind of doing a recap on that energy, I'm going to pop up a couple weeks forecast ago where we talked all about that total blood moon lunar eclipse, which was happening in the sign of Sagittarius, which had a lot to do with our belief systems about the world, the way that we view reality, our own sense of morals, and how we stand in our own integrity, plus many, many more things. But it's this big release, it's this big letting go that's kind of ushering the way towards this solar eclipse in Gemini. This is an annular solar eclipse, so basically the moon is at the farthest point away from the Earth, which is called its apogee, and it appears to be very, very small in the sky. So the moon will then cover the sun, and because it appears to be so small, it is not a total solar eclipse, meaning it doesn't block out the entire sun's light. It will only be an annular, which will leave a ring of fire around the edges of the sun. So if you are interested in seeing that, I believe it is in Greenland, northern Canada, and Russia, where you can see the annular with the ring of fire. But here in the United States and a couple other countries, I think it was like Northeast Asia, I would really have to take a look at my notes, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. You will be able to see a partial solar eclipse, which should look like a little crescent ring on the side, right? So that's gonna be at 6:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on June 10th that this eclipse is going to be taking place. Now, what's very interesting about the dynamic of this eclipse, it's going to be in an aspect with this Neptune situation, but this time it's a square. And if you're interested in learning anything about this Neptune square, I did talk about it in last week's forecast too. Pop that up on the screen for you. But that brings in kind of a deceptive, confusing energy where we might lack clarity. And with all of this energy in Gemini, which rules over information coming at us from all different angles, that we are having to decipher what is right, what is wrong, what to believe, what not to believe. And I am sure you guys are feeling that just as much as I am. But that's why it's very important right now to take quiet time, honor this Mercury retrograde, what it's asking you to do. If you have a spiritual practice in your life, it's going to be really important to honor that right now so that you can activate your sense of clear seeing. I would really highly suggest being very discerning, not taking everything and all the information that's coming in from face value, because there's a lot of deception out there, you guys. Neptune rules over the media, and it rules over a lot of different things I'm not even going to bring up right now, but there's a lot of information coming to us which is not 100% accurate. And there are a lot of different plot lines being played out. There's a lot of different agendas coming at us from different angles, trying to persuade us into continuing to put our energy towards this illusion, right? This illusion of reality that is slowly starting to break apart, that is dismantling, right? Which has a lot to do with this Pluto and Capricorn dynamic too. I mean, Pluto is pretty much the only planet that's left in Capricorn, which is the structures and foundations of our society. And Pluto is a planet that will drudge all that up and tear it down, right? So there's really nothing on solid ground holding up the structures and foundations of our world any longer. So as you can see, we've got a lot of really shaky energy right now, and there's a lot of information coming in to try to confuse you, okay? So just be really careful. So not only is this solar eclipse in a square aspect with Neptune, which brings that tension, it brings a challenge, it brings just a lot of wonky kind of energy, but another interesting factor is we've got this solar eclipse, which is going to be hand in hand with what's called a Mercury cazimi. Now, I know that there's difference in opinion from other astrologers. I was taught that a Mercury cazimi is when Mercury is within 1 degree of the sun. I know a lot of other astrologers say I think it's 14 or 15 minutes away from the sun, which pretty much puts it like this close to the sun. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with the 1 degree. I'm still kind of trying to test out this hypothesis in my practice and in my life by observing. But what this does, Mercury rules over communication. It rules over our mental faculties, our intellect, the way we think, the way we process and take in information, the way that we learn. So basically, when it is said that it is a very powerful day or time period when Mercury is at the heart of the sun like this. And it's said that it is like it's sitting next to the sun in a throne like a king would, right? So it's equal with the sun. And this is bringing us in this intelligence. So we may get flashes and sudden downloads and insights, and things may become really, really clear to us. We may be able to perceive things a lot more clear than before. And because this is a solar eclipse, because this is fated and destined, because a solar eclipse and any eclipse takes place with the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon are all about our karmic and destined path towards the future, especially the north node, right? So we may be getting a crystal clear viewpoint for at least just a couple hours, if not that day, of where we are going, what we need to do, giving us some insight, giving us some aha moments, some epiphanies. So really keep your eyes open June 10th. Now, I'm going to give you a time frame. It could just be all day on June 10th. It could, because I know that I think this Cazimi happens about 12 hours after the solar eclipse. So if that's the case, it's going to be around 7 p.m.-ish, give or take, in the evening, Eastern Standard Time. So just keep your eye out for around that time frame or throughout the day. You guys can test this hypothesis with me. So it's going to be really interesting because we've got a lot of deceptive energy, but we've got this moment of clarity, right? Which I'm really kind of excited to see how this plays out, because there's a lot of interesting dynamics that I'm wondering how it's going to go, because we've also got Mercury Retrograde, which kind of makes things a little bit more confusing. So really just take some time to go inward this day, okay? We might even see some things come out in the news, some more information that's giving us more pieces to the puzzle, to the story, to the plot lines that are all unfolding and going on right now in the media. I'm not even going to get into what that is, but anybody who's following it will know exactly what I'm talking about. So this solar eclipse is all about new beginnings. So after this big lunar eclipse that we just had of releasing, letting go, which was a big purge, and it could have potentially been difficult. I know that it was a little bit difficult for me. So I send you guys all my love if you were going through some challenging and uncomfortable energies as well. But basically, this is like ushering in a new chapter. So for the next 6 months, in whatever area of life this is hitting, which we'll cover in the all 12 signs forecast, we are going to be starting something new. We're going to be bringing something in. There's a lot of newness in the air, which is super, super exciting. So if you are potentially having a hard time letting go, leaving something behind, releasing, or whatever you are feeling the urge to do, if it's extra uncomfortable for you, just please use this Gemini energy to maybe think about things from different angles, maybe try on different perspectives, or just really look to see where it is that you may have attachments or are, too involved in something, or where it may potentially benefit you to make a change that could potentially be a little uncomfortable in the moment, but in the future may really prove to be beneficial, right? And make you a whole hell of a lot more happy. This is really trying to shift us into a new terrain in life, and it's going to shift us no matter what, no matter if we surrender to it or if we go out kicking and screaming. So I don't know about you guys, but I would rather surrender to it and kind of just flow and be a little bit more adaptable to my surroundings and to life situations. Even just know with eclipses, just because something looks a certain way right now, and you might not like it, it doesn't mean that it's going to end up that way, okay? So just be open, like I said, to trying on different perspectives and knowing that you might not have all of the information just quite yet, okay? This plays out over the course of many months. Okay, so I think that is all that I'm going to share for the general forecast right now. I went on long enough, but I want to get into forecasts for all 12 zodiac signs. So like I said before, there will be timestamps below, and you can check for your sun and your rising sign primarily, but I would say the rising sign is going to be the most accurate, okay? The sun sign, you can check secondary. If you really want to check for your moon sign, you can do that too. However, that's going to be more of like a subjective experience for you rather than maybe something circumstantial that's playing out in your everyday reality, all right? So we'll go ahead and get into this. Starting with Aries, sun, and rising. You guys have got this Mars opposite Pluto dynamic. It's taking place in your 4th and 10th house. So there's this power struggle potentially going on between something as it pertains to the home life and maybe family members, or just really trying to even out and balance this dynamic between what you're doing out in the world, what you're doing for your career, what you're doing to be seen in the world, and what kind of demands you're having on the home front. So this could potentially be some opposition from others, potentially people who are in positions of power and authority over you in the workplace. So you want to watch out for that as well. It could also just give you a lot more push and a lot more ambition to get out there and do what it is you want to do out in the world, what your deepest desires are. It could really, really help you for that, but you want to watch out for overdoing that and potentially using your power to step on other people or potentially harm your family members in some way. Not that you would intentionally want to harm your family members, but sometimes when we put a little bit too much power out there, we want to put too much effort into our work and into our career and everything. Sometimes the family life tends to lag. So you do want to watch out for this, as well as for any manipulation or deceit or anything like that coming from people in power, an authority figure roles, or whatever that might be. Any type of person that you are affiliated with in that sense. Now, we'll move on to the solar eclipse coming up in the sign of Gemini for you in your 3rd house. So basically this lunar eclipse was in the 9th house, asking you to really bring into focus and release any outdated belief systems about the way that you see the world at large, what your religious affiliations are, what kind of spiritual viewpoints do you have, what kind of potentially dogmatic views about the world that might be holding you back from really shifting your perspective and shifting your life in general, because our viewpoints are so very important to the direction that we're heading in life. So it was asking you to kind of release these certain aspects. This could also have potentially had to do with letting go of something pertaining to foreign affairs and cultures and long distance travel. Maybe it was some type of higher educational pursuit that you were maybe ending or letting go of, because it also could just be a culmination point. So now the new direction that you're heading in is all about learning, maybe learning a new skill set, taking on some type of new information or course of study. The 3rd house, as well as Gemini, rules over fine motor skills. This could be even potentially getting a new vehicle or something like that, or somehow playing some type of role in your local community, in your neighborhood. Something like that could potentially be amping up, or maybe you are taking on some kind of new business endeavor or something as it pertains to your siblings, or maybe one of your relatives or something like that, or maybe just somehow receiving some type of new information, which really helps to shift your mindset in a more positive way. But you do want to watch out for any type of subconscious blockages or maybe addictive tendencies or self-sabotaging types of behavior, because this is going to be squaring that Neptune placement, which is in your 12th house of self-sabotaging, self-undoing behaviors, subconscious, all the subconscious realms that we are not fully aware of. So this could potentially bring some type of tension with something that you are now becoming aware of about yourself that could potentially have been blocking you. There could be some cognitive dissonance here. We don't want to accept it. We don't want to take it on. So just watch out for that, as well as any type of escapist tendencies, addictive behaviors, or anything like that that could potentially become a challenge or become a problem. But overall, I think this is really good for establishing a more healthy mindset overall. And yeah, that's what I have for you today, Aries. So let's go ahead and move on to Taurus Sun or Taurus Rising, specifically Rising. So Taurus, this Mars opposite Pluto dynamic is going to be taking place in your 3rd and 9th house. So there could potentially be some kind of power and control struggles as it pertains to something going on in your local environment, your community, and maybe pertaining to something that's going on internationally or out in the world. It could also be maybe a clash of belief systems in some way, a clash in the way that you view the world, could be challenged at some point. You could potentially be receiving some opposition from others. This could potentially be maybe even a teacher or some type of spiritual guru or something that is maybe exuding their power in a way which you may not like, that may cause some type of power struggle or some type of aggressive behavior that you may want to watch out for. But really, this could just really give you that push and ambition to really go after your learning pursuits, right? Because this is on the axis of learning. We've got the third house, which is when we learn new skills and abilities, take new courses or certification programs. And then we've got the ninth house, which is higher learning. It's our belief systems. It's our pursuits towards a new philosophy and a new way of viewing the world. So there is this type of dynamic here where maybe there's some type of shift, and maybe you have some type of challenge or some person who brings in some type of opposition, but you are potentially not going to let any of this stand in your way. It's going to give you that ambition and that drive and that will that you need to push through no matter what kind of opposition you're really faced with here. You do want to watch out for any manipulation or deceit that could potentially come to the forefront here. Just being that this is Mars and Cancer anyways, this could potentially be some type of opposition or challenge with your siblings or your relatives, because we already have the family dynamic coming to the forefront here anyways. It could bring in neighbors or anything like that. So just watch out for manipulation, deceit, obsession, jealousy, control, all of these topics. So let's go ahead. We're going to move on to the solar eclipse in Gemini, but first we want to backtrack a little bit. You just recently had a total blood moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house. So I don't know if this was some type of release of debt, paying something off, maybe even potentially really going through some healing. Maybe this was like some type of sexual healing or healing that stemmed from some type of trauma that you took on from earlier on in your childhood, or that maybe made you see the world and have a belief system in some way, shape, or form that you are releasing or being urged to let go of and transcend and move on from, right? So those are some of the things that you could have been releasing, but now this Gemini solar eclipse is taking place in your 2nd house. Now this is the house of money and finances. So really that lunar eclipse could have also been a release of joint finances of some sort. Some type of finances that you are entangled with a business partner or with a marriage partner or something like that. But this is really bringing the focus on some type of new beginning and moving into a new karmic, destined, and fated direction as it pertains to how you make money out in the world, what you're doing to make money, how you value yourself based off the things that you own, based off of what you have. There could potentially be an opportunity to juggle a couple different income revenues or like ways of making money. Maybe you're starting some type of new endeavor, but there could potentially be a couple different things, because Gemini is the twins, it's multiplicity, it's many different things at once, multitasking. So there could definitely be that sort of energy in the air here. This also has to do a lot with your self-worth. So it's really like stepping into this new, more empowered version of yourself to remove any limitations or blockages as it may pertain to what's standing in the way of you making money and you bringing in long-lasting resources for yourself. And this is going to set the stage for this next 9-year cycle until the eclipses come back into Gemini and Sagittarius once again. Watch out though, because there is tension and a challenge over to Neptune, which is going to be in your house of friends, allies, and benefactors. So I don't know if there may be some type of deceit in terms of somebody that could potentially come into your life, and you may not be seeing this person clearly, right? They may look like they're bringing benefits, or there may be some type of information coming in, but it's not 100% clear, and you should probably just use discernment, be a little bit more leery. This even could be you're not maybe seeing some of your goals and what you're trying to achieve in the world long term clearly, and there may need to be some little adjustments or tweaks made in that area of life as well. So this could also potentially bring some challenges with technology, and you will want to make sure that you are securing your connection on the internet, maybe changing up your passwords or something like that, because it is Neptune. It can bring some foggy, deceptive energy into the 11th house of technology and social networks and things that we connect with people online. All right, so that is what I have for you today. Let's go ahead. We're going to move on to Gemini. So Gemini sun and rising, you've got this dynamic, this face-off. Mars in Cancer opposite Pluto in Capricorn that's going on in your 2nd and 8th house. So there's some type of power struggle dynamic going on between the house of you and your resources, how you're making money, bringing money in out in the world, and the house of joint finances, taxes, debts, inheritance. So I don't know if maybe this is some type of struggle as it pertains to family. There maybe could be some type of family conflict here, or it could potentially be some type of opposition that you're receiving from others in terms of maybe some type of loan, or maybe it's with inheritance in general. There could be some type of family conflict. Maybe, you know, people are fighting over money and resources in some way, shape, or form. No matter what this opposition is, maybe you're having some kind of challenge with bringing in resources of some sort, but no matter what this is, you're really going to be given a lot of drive, ambition, and motivation to do whatever it takes to push past the opposition, to push past this intense dynamic that's playing out over this weekend in your life, which is great. But you do want to watch out that you're not getting too competitive or too motivated, which you will maybe step on other people's toes, or, you know, do whatever it takes to get to the end goal of what you're trying to achieve, right? And you want to watch out for other people potentially doing this to you too, because this could go either way, right? It's an opposition. And watch out for manipulation and deceit as it pertains to money, finances, debts, all of those kinds of things. So you want to definitely watch out for all of that. Now, all right, now you've got the solar eclipse happening in Gemini in your 1st house. So you are honestly the star of the show, Gemini. This is going to be big for you because you've got these eclipses on your 2 angles. It's affecting all the cardinal points of your chart, which is your 1st house, 7th house, 10th house, and 4th house. So basically you just had this big solar eclipse, this lunar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius in your 7th house, which is all about a release of some sorts pertaining to relationships, your belief about relationships, how you operate in relationships. Maybe it's that you may tend to lose yourself in relationships, or whatever the dynamic might be, you're being asked to kind of release this emotional inner dynamic that could potentially be going on in that area of life. Now, we've got the solar eclipse happening in Gemini in your 1st house, which doesn't mean that you won't find a relationship. There's a potential that this could come in and completely change your identity, because the solar eclipse is happening in the house of the self, who you are as a person, your personality, your identity, how people see you, the way that you approach the world is all going to be changing in the next 6 months. There's a lot of newness. There's a new chapter. There's a new era that's being born in your life. So yeah, because it's on the axis of the house and relationships, maybe somebody's coming in, or maybe a relationship that's already present in your life is getting more serious, which is going to ultimately change your identity out in the world. But this could also be letting go of a relationship or old relationship dynamics that are no longer serving you. And you're really focusing more on becoming a more independent, self-serving type of person so that you can gain this confidence and move forward in a way in which that's going to help all of these major areas of your chart: home and family dynamics, career. So once you change as a person, everything changes, right? But what you do want to watch out, there is a little bit of a tension as it pertains to what you're doing out in the world. So you want to make sure that you're not neglecting what you're doing out in the world, or because of some type of relationship dynamic that's going on. You want to also watch out that there's not that you're not over idealizing or romanticizing something that you're doing out in the world, that you're kind of looking at it with open eyes, right? You're using that clear vision to see things clearly. Just know that there is a chance that it's going to be a little bit harder to have that clarity at this time. You may have it the day of the eclipse, but you want to watch out for any deceit or deception, any type of escapist behaviors that take you away from yourself. So just watch out for all of that. But overall, potentially, I think that this, if you are stepping into your intuition and allowing that to lead you and guide you, it's really going to show you what it is this eclipse is trying to bring into your life to really liberate you and make you a more confident person overall, right? Changing your appearance, changing your identity and everything. Okay, so we're going to move on to Cancer. Cancer, rising and Cancer sun signs. This Mars-Pluto opposition is happening right on your angles, your first and your seventh house. So this is bringing to the forefront some big challenge or some type of struggle in regards to power and control dynamics, maybe some opposition coming from other people. So this is the house of you and other people, your close, intimate relationships. This could be business partnerships. This could be people that you're in a contractual agreement with. So I don't know if maybe somebody could potentially be manipulating you or coercing you in some way and exuding their power, their dominance over you. There could potentially be some intense jealousy dynamics or obsession of some sort. This could either be coming from you or coming from another person. So you want to watch out for this. There's a potential for like psychic attack. You know, you want to be able to protect your energy and just watch out for this. This could really honestly give you that fire that you needed lit underneath you to really push through maybe some dynamics that need to be transformed in terms of how you operate in relationships with other people. So this could really be helping you. It may be challenging at first, but you may be able to transcend some things and really be reborn in a way in which you can operate better with other people in relationships. So I think ultimately, even though there may be some type of opposition here, it could result in something that could be positive in the long run. And then we're going to move on to the solar eclipses. So these solar eclipses prove to be just a little bit more challenging for you, Cancer, but that's okay because we've only got a little bit more time left for the Gemini and Sagittarius eclipses to be in your 6th and 12th house. I'm right there with you guys. I'm a Cancer rising. So basically, because the solar or lunar eclipse, the total blood moon lunar eclipse was just in your 6th house, there is this need to let go, to release, to leave behind maybe some type of bad habit or something that you're doing in your daily routine that is no longer serving you and potentially could be sabotaging you or preventing you from really moving forward on the trajectory that this destined and fated solar eclipse is trying to take you on, right? And this could also potentially be something pertaining to your health and nutrition routines, some type of physical regime that you're doing or maybe not doing that you need to. This also could potentially have to do with work. So maybe there is a job that is no longer serving you that could potentially be removed from your life over the course of the next 6 months. So these are some themes to watch out for. Please just try to surrender and roll with whatever is happening right now. Know that you might not have the whole picture of how everything is going to play out. But on the other hand, we've got this big bad solar eclipse coming in the sign of Gemini in your 12th house. This is the house that's all about being hidden away from the world, what we do behind the scenes. Rest, retreat, solitude, seclusion. So it seems like Gemini or Cancer risings have already had a lot of this energy, having the North Node in this house since May of 2020. We've had Mars just transiting this house, and now we've got another cluster of planets in this house right now. And this is indicative that you are going to be maybe moving away from some type of job and some work that you do out in the world to potentially move in the direction of doing more things behind the scenes as it pertains to potential things like spirituality, or it's some purpose work because it's the North Node, or maybe moving the direction of your karmic destiny by releasing and letting go of things in your daily life that no longer serve you, which also pertains to subconscious blocks, right? Things that are deep within our psyche that we're not aware of that could potentially be coming up for us to transcend, for us to work through at this time. These are things that could potentially have been sabotaging us, creating self-sabotaging dynamics in our lives for a really long time. So watch out for that, because we've also got a square over to Neptune in the 9th house in Pisces. This could bring in your belief systems, the way that you see the world, your own sense of moral code and ethics, and how you stand in your own individual sense of integrity. This could also bring in some type of confusion as it pertains to teachers or maybe higher learning pursuits. Things may be kind of unclear. Your path may not be completely highlighted for you at this time. There could be some fog, some haze, or anything like that. So you do want to watch out for that. But honestly, I think that this could also potentially be really great energy for stepping out of the mind, stepping into more creative pursuits. If you allow yourself to surrender and let go, your intuition will be coming through a lot easier. And yeah, it could potentially be really beneficial for you as well in the long run. So that is what I have to say for you, Cancer. Best of luck. We're going to go ahead and move on to Leo rising. So Leos, you've got this Mars in Cancer opposition to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn dynamic going on. So this is bringing a little bit of a power struggle with your mind and your physical body, potentially, like how you're operating on a mental capacity. From your subconscious mind, you could potentially be having this own power and control struggle with your inner and outer worlds, right? Trying to kind of let go of these habits and things that you're doing in your daily routine, your nutrition regime, your diet, your sense of how you're exercising your body and taking care of yourself could potentially be sabotaging you, and you're in this like power and control back and forth dynamic or struggle with these kinds of things. This could also have to do with a situation taking place in the workplace, right? There's some type of opposition that you're receiving from maybe like people who are in power, in authority positions in your work dynamic, or even potentially coworkers or people that you interact with on the daily basis in your work environment. So you could be struggling some way mentally with some type of situation like this. So this could give you the motivation and the push that you need to maybe surpass some kind of mental or subconscious blocks that you might have, where you continuously sabotage yourself, or maybe you don't believe in yourself in some way, shape, or form. And this could be really lighting the fire that you need to kind of push past that opposition no matter what. And I would be careful to watch out for any type of manipulation or deceit with maybe your job or people in the workplace or whatever that might be. Or this could even potentially just be power and control struggles that you have with yourself, because this is coming from the place of the 12th house, which is our subconscious realms, which is self-sabotaging behaviors. So this could be some type of dynamic that's taking place within you as well, okay? So just keep an eye out for that. Then we've got the solar eclipse taking place in your 11th house, which means that there was just a lunar eclipse in your 5th house. So this lunar eclipse is asking you to release and let go of maybe some type of dynamic as it pertains to your belief systems surrounding your children, like your involvement with your children or whatever it is that's going on with your children that's no longer serving you, right? It could potentially have something to do with your creative self-expression and the way that you enjoy life, right? Your hobbies, how you express yourself creatively, the things that you do out in the world because you really just enjoy doing them. So maybe there is a lack of that and you need to kind of figure that out. So that was coming to a culmination point, or maybe you're doing too much of that or something that no longer serves you anymore. There's no longer time for it or no longer a place in your life for that. So you're needing to let that go. Maybe it was that you are spending a little bit too much time enjoying life, right? There's a little bit too much overindulgence because this house rules over the things that we do, like go out and celebrate with our friends, right? Go out drinking, going to the club, going to the bar. It can also rule over like casinos and gambling. So all of those things that we do to overindulge. So maybe this solar or lunar eclipse was asking you to release and let go of that because it's no longer serving you anymore, right? So now we are moving towards this solar eclipse in Gemini, which is occurring in the 11th house. This is the house of friends, allies, benefactors. So there could potentially be some type of person that comes into your life that really helps to get you on this trajectory moving forward. Maybe it's doing something online, reaching groups of people some way, doing something that you really love that's Gemini in nature, which has to do with communication and information and learning and teaching and all of these different things. So getting yourself out there, you could have some type of, like I said, ally that comes in to help you achieve just that. Or maybe it's you're involved in some, or you're going to be more involved with some type of group dynamic or organization that's really going to benefit you in doing just that in some way. So it's really going to be harnessing your communication skills. You're going to be getting your name out there. Yeah, so I think overall this looks like really great energy. I think technology could potentially be a really big part of this. Social media, even just like if you put yourself out there on platforms like YouTube or any of these things are going to be really fitting. But this is a great house to really reach for and strive towards your goals, your ambitions, your dreams for the future. So I really like this house. I think that it's great energy to help you get and to manifest what it is that you really want to manifest out in the world. So this is overall very positive. And keep an eye out on the day of the solar eclipse during that Mercury cazimi, because you may be getting some big downloads and insights on what that could potentially mean for you or what direction you need to be heading in. All right, next up is Virgo. So Virgo, we've got this Mars-Pluto opposition. We've got Mars in Cancer with Pluto in Capricorn retrograde in an opposition, and this is taking place in your 11th and your 5th house. So we may have some power and control dynamics, some power struggles going on with friends. Maybe it has to do with children in some way, shape, or form. Maybe there's some type of opposition with the way that you enjoy life, the way that you express yourself creatively, and the hobbies that you do are not lining up with the beliefs or what's going on with your friends or your family dynamics. There could potentially be some type of challenge or competition or aggression and obsessive tendencies, maybe some type of strife that you're getting from putting yourself out there online in some way over on social media. You want to watch out for that as well. But I would definitely just watch out for any manipulation or deceit. But really, this could be some type of opposing force that's making it difficult for you to get yourself out there online or out in the world or with the groups and the organizations that you're involved with and what you like to do, what you really enjoy doing. So there may be some type of oppositional force as it pertains to that, but this could really give you the motivation that you need to kind of push forward no matter what opposing force stands in your way, and to just really push through that. So I don't know if there's some type of friendship dynamic that's kind of oppressing you, or there's some jealousy going on with your creative pursuits and kind of stifling the joy that you have in life, making you feel like repressed a little bit. So just watch out for that. But moving on, we've got this solar eclipse taking place in an amazing spot for you. This is in the 10th house of career, what you do out in the world, the legacy that you leave behind for your children and your family. And it's the most public sector of your chart. This is really lighting up that area. But first and foremost, we just had this lunar eclipse in the 4th house in Sagittarius, which is kind of creating this dynamic where you need to release or let go of something as it pertains to your home. I don't know if this could be like actual move or some type of family dynamic, maybe your beliefs or the way that you view some type of dynamic pertaining to the family needed to shift or change, or it was outdated and it wasn't serving you any longer. This could also have to do with like property, maybe some type of renovation was coming to a head or culmination of some sort. You may even just be having some challenges on the home front in some way, shape, or form. But what's really positive is that this is bringing the energy of new beginnings, of fresh starts, a new chapter, a new era in your life into your 10th house of career. What you do out in the world. This could pertain to information, learning, technology, teaching, all of those kinds of things, like taking in and giving information out to the world in your 10th house of career. So this looks really good for you, Virgo. So I don't know if what's going to be happening in your career life, but it's definitely blossoming and growing in the course of the next 6 months. There's going to be so many opportunities for growth here. What I do want to bring to your attention, though, is that there is a square which can be a tension or a challenge as it pertains to relationships, right? So there is a square aspect to Neptune to this eclipse, which could bring in some deception, lack of clarity, unclearness, fogginess, and haze in the department of relationship. This is also the house of open enemies. So I don't know if maybe there's some type of information or deceit, lies, manipulation coming from that area of life. Really, though, I think if you step so much out of the mental faculties and kind of use this intuitive feelings, sensations that you get in the body to lead you, to guide you, overall, this will be energy that you are very much able to navigate. And I do see so much positive energy taking place for you in the 10th house of career. So that's really exciting. Okay, Libra rising. So we've got this opposition between Mars and Cancer and Pluto, the planet of power and control and intensity, transformation occurring in your 10th and 4th house axis, which is telling me that there may be some type of power struggle on the home front and the career area of your life, like what you're doing out in the world. So I don't know if maybe there's some type of opposition in the family area of life, or you're feeling like you may need to protect yourself, or you're feeling a sense of competition or aggression of some sort with people in positions of power and control in your life and what you're doing out in your career. There's some type of dynamic going on here between the home and family and what you're doing out in the world. But this could really give you the push to maybe transform something in your family life, right? Something that's really needs to be kind of drudged up and transformed so that you can do what it is that you're trying to do out in the world, right? While you still have that kind of happiness that you want on the home front, so you can get the success that you need out in the career world. But it might be a little bit challenging. There may be a potential for manipulation coming from somebody of opposition that might be exuding control over you. There may be deceit and lies, manipulation. So you just want to watch out for that obsession tendency, jealousy tendencies, and really focus your energy on your ambitions. But you want to make sure that you're not over focusing to the point where you could be stepping on other people's toes. That could also be happening in reverse too. So just watch out for these themes taking place in that 4th and 10th house home and career axis. But you've got these solar eclipse in Gemini taking place in your 9th house, which means that the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius was just happening in the 3rd house. So I don't know if maybe you were releasing or finishing or letting go of some type of course of study. You were maybe doing some type of certification program, or maybe there's some type of business endeavor that was reaching its culmination point that is kind of wrapping up and ending. Maybe it's something pertaining to your neighborhood and your immediate environment, something, a belief system or something that needed to be released as it pertained to siblings, or maybe some type of relative that was no longer serving you, or a mindset that you had that was no longer serving you and needed to be readjusted or let go of, or maybe tweaked a little bit so that it could really benefit you and help you moving forward. Now this solar eclipse is happening in the 9th house, which is the house of higher learning, higher knowledge. So I don't know because it's in Gemini, which is learning, it's taking in information and learning new skill sets and things like that. So, I mean, there's definitely a potential here that you could be learning something new, right? You could be doing some new type of course of study, or maybe it's that you're teaching something out in the world, which could be a potential. This could also bring in an opportunity for long distance travel. Actually, because it's Gemini in the 9th house, I would say maybe it's going to be local though. Like it could be long distance, but maybe potentially in a car, like nothing that you would need to take a plane to get there. But potential for travel of some sort could also come to the forefront. This could also just be a great opportunity to kind of reassess your mindset, like reinvent the wheel as it pertains to the way that you see the world at large, your philosophies, your world philosophies, and your viewpoints, and really kind of adjust your mindset in a more positive trajectory. Even the way that you speak, the words that you use, maybe kind of tweaking that up a bit as well. Now there's going to be a little bit of a tension or a challenge to Neptune here in the 6th house. So I don't know if there's maybe some type of work dynamic that's going on that you're not able to kind of see how that's manifesting or playing out clearly yet. But just keep an eye out for that. It could also bring in some maybe old habits or some challenges with escapist behaviors, things that we do on the daily to escape our everyday reality. You want to watch out for that. This is not really the best time to be bringing in those things right now, because there is going to be that challenge that's going on, that tension that's going on with Neptune, and we do want to watch out for that. So do positive Neptune things, spirituality, yoga, meditation, journaling, creative self-expression, all of those kinds of things are really good to add into the daily routine so that you're not falling prey to toxic habits and old behaviors that could really mess up this beautiful ninth house energy that the solar eclipse is trying to bring it for you. Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun. So this Mars opposite Pluto dynamic is going to be taking place in your ninth and third house axis. This could really potentially be a clash between family members. Maybe there's some type of manipulation or deceit or power struggles in the family dynamics, and a clash of belief systems, right? A clash in like religious affiliations or life philosophies and the way that you see the world between maybe people in your community and your neighborhood and in your immediate environment. This could even bring in people like siblings and cousins and relatives. So there may be some clash of dynamics as it pertains to something like that. Also, this could just bring in manipulation and deceit from people who are like spiritual leaders or people who provoke different types of thought within you. So you want to watch out because your mindset and the way that you think is subject to a little bit more manipulation at this time, psychic attack on the daily. So I would just watch out for these types of dynamics. But really, this could just spur you and make you a little bit more ambitious to get out there and change the way that you see the world. Maybe you really want to learn something new, but you're receiving some type of opposition from somebody or something in life, right? There's some dynamic that's taking place. It's almost trying to prevent you from doing it, but you're going to be having that fire lit underneath you that's going to potentially give you the energy and the surge that you need to kind of break down any barriers or walls or oppositions that you might be receiving in life right now. So that is definitely a positive. Now these eclipses. So this solar eclipse in Gemini, ushering in the new beginnings, new era, new chapter in life, is going to be taking place in your eighth house of joint finances and things like that. But first and foremost, let's go backwards in time. The total blood moon lunar eclipse, which was a release, letting go, it may have ushered in endings, or maybe the culmination of something that's been going on in our lives is reaching its peak and it's fulfilling, most high expression of this time. This is in the house of money and finances. So maybe we're releasing some of our physical possessions or our attachments to them and our belief systems about them. It could potentially be a release of some source of income, which could pose a bit of a challenge at this time, right? So there could be just a little bit of a challenge on the money front at this time in our lives, or with our resources. This could even be a challenge or some type of release or letting go of people that work for us, but it's not necessarily people who work under us. It's people like our accountants or investment bankers or something like that, right? Now, we have this solar eclipse that's taking place in the 8th house, which is joint finances. So I don't know if you may potentially be benefiting from a partner getting a raise, or maybe, getting a new position in a job that really seems to benefit you in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe you're getting some type of money from someplace. You're receiving some type of information that you are going to have an ability to pay off a new debt, or a debt of some sort, which could be really nice. Maybe you are potentially going through some type of catharsis, deep transformation, or healing because you have been able to really shift your mindset. You've really learned a lot and been able to take in new information, or you could potentially be doing this in the future. This is also the house of occult topics like astrology and like different modalities that are much different than the normal world. This could even be diving deep into your inner psychology, where you could be really transforming some type of aspect or healing some big aspect of yourself, really, that's going to change your trajectory moving forward. So this will prove to be pretty interesting with this eclipse. Now, there is a square which could prove to be a little bit challenging in the house of fun, what you do for fun, what you do out in the world to bring you joy, your hobbies, your creative interests. So this is actually, you want to make sure that you're using this energy wisely. This could be a bit challenging if you're maybe overindulging and trying to escape. You're doing a little bit too much celebration or, experiencing a little bit too much joy, because this is the house of fun and celebration. It rules over things like casinos and gambling and stuff like that. So you want to watch out that you're not trying to escape too much into that area of life and trying to filter this in a more positive way. So if there is any confusion, lack of clarity, you're going through the motions with that, making sure that you are indulging in creative self-expression. This is a really good energy for art and poetry and dance, moving your body, like, expression of some sort. This could also bring some challenges maybe in the area of children, where you're not seeing things very clearly. Maybe there's some misinformation that's coming in some way as it pertains to your children. Sagittarius rising. So you've got this Mars opposite Pluto dynamic, which brings in the focus of like power and control, possible manipulation and deceit. In the houses of the 2nd and the 8th axis, which could bring in some power struggles as it pertains to money, right? There could be some type of opposition with some resource or some type of money, and maybe joint finances with family dynamics, or maybe inheritance, debts, taxes. Any of those types of things could prove to become a little bit challenging at this time. So maybe it's that you're trying to pay off a debt, but there's somebody or something opposing you with your resources and your money and your savings and all of those kinds of things, that's posing to be a bit of a challenge, and that can seem to maybe be a bit of a frustration at this time. Maybe it's just some type of inner power struggle that you're having that you need to kind of transcend as it pertains to sharing money and resources with another person, maybe a family member or something like that, or a marriage partner that's proving to be a little bit more challenging at this time, or vice versa. This could be a partner that's doing this as well, that you're struggling with. But I really do think that no matter what this is that gets in your way, you're going to be having that competitive spirit and that ambition to really push through and kind of face whatever it is head on, so that you can transform it and move forward in a more positive light, in a positive manner. Now, moving on to these solar eclipses, you are going to be having this solar eclipse in Gemini in your 7th house of relationships, which is interesting. It could potentially bring in a partner of some sort. But first and foremost, let's go backwards in time a little bit, because this lunar eclipse that just took place on May 26th was happening in your 1st house of the self, of your personality, of your identity, of the way that the world perceives you and sees you. So this could be really changing your life philosophies, changing the person that you are, really like releasing something, some aspect of you, maybe your life philosophies, your beliefs about the world and about yourself in general, your identity, the way that you perceived yourself at one time or another, and the way that everybody else perceives you. This is no longer serving you potentially, and you could be releasing or letting go of that and undergoing some type of big cathartic transformation that's really karmic and destined, which is going to ultimately result in new beginnings, new chapters of life with you and your relationship dynamics with other people. Any type of contractual agreement, business partnership, maybe a new relationship could potentially be coming in that's karmic and destined in some way, shape, or form. It could even be like some type of intimate friendship or a deeper relationship with somebody that we already have in our lives. So that's really exciting. Now, there is a potential challenge, a lack of clarity, confusion, maybe some type of deception or desire to escape reality that's potentially occurring or going on in the home and family sector of life that's in attention with this Gemini energy. So I don't know if maybe there's some type of family member that may potentially pose to be a challenge to this new relationship dynamic that could potentially be coming into your life, or that maybe you're having a hard time with some type of family dynamics, which is preventing you from starting a new relationship or being intimate in some way, learning about other people, getting out there and socializing. So there's some type of situation in the household area of life. Maybe it's where you live. It could potentially be with your family. It could potentially be a challenge with your property, or, you know, you want to move and you're not able to. There's some sort of tension going on there that should potentially clear up later in July, around like July, beginning of July, after the first week of July. So that is what I have for you today, Sagittarius. Then we've got Capricorn. So Capricorn, this Mars-Pluto opposition is going to be playing out on your 1st and 7th house axis. So these are angles. These are very important areas. So there could potentially be some struggles in relationships with other people, right? Where you may potentially be exuding your power or manipulating or trying to deceive another person in some way. Pluto does represent power and control dynamics. It also could represent intense jealousy or obsession about something within a relationship. So you do want to watch out for that, okay? That you're not getting like too overly competitive or, you know, exerting your will a little bit too much over somebody else. This could potentially be reversed as well, this situation. It could be somebody else as an opposing force to you, which is making you feel stifled in some way. It's making you feel, you know, uncomfortable. This could be very intense energy that brings discomfort. So just watch out for that dynamic that could potentially be playing out over this weekend. Ultimately, I think that it will result in you just having a lot of energy. So no matter what this opposing force is, there is a potential for transformation. There is a potential that you could like drudge whatever it is up inside of you that's bringing this like strife or conflict in relationship dynamics, is potentially could be bringing in these jealous tendencies, or maybe even someone else obsessing over you, because we know other people are our mirror, right? So there is potential for transformation here, and you will probably be very motivated to do that. So that is a very positive thing. Now, moving on to eclipses. This is another challenging eclipse axis here, having them in your 6th and 12th house. So the solar eclipse in Gemini is going to be in the 6th house, which could potentially be ushering in a new job of some sort. You're working in a new, maybe service of some sort, because the 6th house does represent service to others. So maybe you're starting a new job in the service industry, in the restaurants, or maybe you are some type of healthcare practitioner that's out there serving other people in some way, right? Now, this is happening right after the lunar eclipse, which just occurred in your 12th house on May 26th. This was a total blood moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius, which was really working with your subconscious mind, your inner tendencies to self-sabotage. These are aspects of ourselves that kind of take us away from ourselves and where we have control over ourselves. So this could potentially have been drudging up a lot of things internally and making you kind of take a look at them, so that it could change your viewpoint about the world. It could change your life philosophies, and it could really help you kind of get out of your own way, right? Which is a very positive thing. But usually when we're in the midst of that, it can definitely be a bit challenging. Now, this solar eclipse is trying to bring in a new chapter, new beginnings. Like I said, in the work dynamics is one area that it could play out for you. It could also be bringing more positive things as it pertains to what you're doing on a daily basis. Your daily routines, your habits, your patterns, the way that you take care of yourself. So that's the way that you eat, your nutrition, your physical health, exercise. So all of these healthy patterns and habits. So we're getting rid of that like mental stuff that's blocking us, that those subconscious tendencies to self-sabotage. And we're moving in a busier direction, because the 6th house is really busy house. It's that work house. So over the next 6 months, you're probably going to see yourself out in the world a little bit more, helping other people. So it's going to be really important that you do have healthier routines in place anyways. Now, there is a bit of a challenge or a tension going on here to Neptune, which can bring in some fogginess, a lack of clarity as it pertains to your mindset and the way that you're seeing the world in general, right? So there could be like a lack of clarity with the mind, the mental capacities, your motor skills, maybe even just some deception or deceit or confusion with siblings or relatives or people in your immediate environment in your community. So it's just something to potentially watch out for. I think what's really important is we try to get out of our mind and into our feeling body, allowing our intuition to just kind of guide us, because we could potentially not be seeing things clearly, or you in general, the mind is the third house. So you may not be kind of thinking clearly at this time. So just watch out for that as well and let your intuition be the guide. Aquarius, Sun and Rising. All right, so this Mars-Pluto dynamic, this opposition, bringing in power and control struggles and dynamics, maybe even themes of manipulation and deceit. And this is playing out for you on your 6th and 12th house axis, which could potentially be a bit challenging. So there could be some type of intensity as it pertains to what is going on within your subconscious mind. It could potentially be some power and control struggles that are playing out of how you maybe sabotage yourself, right? That you're not really seeing clearly. That could be playing out as well in situations in the workplace. This could be with people who are your subordinates who work for you, or maybe coworkers in your workplace where there might be some type of power and control struggles or dynamics, maybe some manipulation or somebody like imposing their will upon you, or maybe you doing that to somebody else and realizing that maybe this is something that you've been doing all along, which has been really it's been something coming from the subconscious, which has been sabotaging you and creating a lot of strife and conflict in your life. So these are just a couple ways. I mean, this could also have to do with like your mental health versus your your patterns and your habits and your daily routines in some way. So you could be really motivated to change this up, feeling really competitive and like a lot of energy to get moving your body to put yourself in a better mental state, right? So just watch out for these like dynamics playing out. But I think overall the energy will result in something positive. And then we've got the eclipses. So we've got this solar eclipse taking place in the house of what brings you joy. A new chapter, new beginnings are being ushered in to really kind of explore what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what you're doing out in the world, your hobbies, indulgences, even just having fun with friends, celebration, and how you express yourself creatively. This is also the house of children. So for some people, this could be bringing in a child, right? Maybe even twins, because it's Gemini, right? So bringing in 2 children, right? A little bit unexpected, but something very fated, karmic, and destined, or even just like, you know, a lot more social opportunities to spend with your kids that are really like fun and enjoying times. But I think having a solar eclipse in the 5th house in Gemini and a really social sign is going to bring a lot of opportunity to get social, to have fun, to like really find once again what it is that you like to do out in the world. So that is really, really exciting. So your hobbies, your interests, just all of those things like recreation, sports, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that in the future. And then this lunar eclipse obviously could potentially be like a release or a letting go. There may be some loss as it pertains to friends. So you do want to watch out for that. Maybe it could be somebody who's really no longer serving you anymore in your life, that you don't have like the same belief systems. There's just not that sense of alignment anymore. And that's okay, because in order to really karmically move forward onto our destined path, sometimes we have to release and let go. And unfortunately, that can be a bit challenging. We might even decide that there's like some groups or organizations or affiliations that we are releasing or letting go of, that we no longer need to really be involved with anymore, that we're going to be releasing. So also this could potentially be like maybe some goal or dream that you once had that you're kind of seeing differently, you're perceiving in a different way, and it's being let go of, or it could be coming to fruition or culmination, which ultimately this solar eclipse, because it came to culmination, is going to pull you more towards your joy. Because you've reached this certain goal, you're going to be able to head more in the direction of your joy and what you can do out in the world to be a little bit more happy, right? To find your joy and happiness. All right, so one last thing. This eclipse is going to be making a square, which could pose to be a little bit challenging or bring a little bit of tension, lack of clarity, maybe some deception or deceit. We might not be seeing things clearly. We might be seeing things just the way that we want to see them and not seeing them for what they are. So be careful of that at this time. Really think about things. This is in your house of money. So there could be a little bit of a challenge with your resources or your money. You could be, believing that there might be a little bit too much there, or you're, overspending, being a little bit too indulgent. So just watch out for this. I would say if you want to do any spending or make any big purchases, that you kind of refrain from doing so at this time. I would wait till after the Mercury retrograde period, after the final square to Neptune, which is going to be about the second week of July, after July 7th. And last but certainly not least, we're going to be moving on to Pisces rising, Pisces sun. Okay, Pisces, so this Mars opposition to Pluto retrograde dynamic, it's taking place in your 5th and 11th house. So there could be posing to be a little bit of a challenge as it pertains to what you do that brings you joy, that you love to do, your sense of creative self-expression, you really focusing on you as an individual and the way that you're seen out in the world, your creative pursuits, right? And your friends and the groups and organizations that you're involved with. So I don't know if there may be some type of power and control struggles with groups that you might be affiliated with that could be potentially stifling some of your creative abilities or things that bring you joy, things that you do out in the world, or maybe these are friends that are deceiving you, or there's some type of opposition from somebody in your life, right, that's not allowing you to enjoy yourself in the ways that you would really like to, or could potentially involve children as well. So there could be some type of dynamic where you're feeling a power struggle as it pertains to your kids, and you're feeling extra protective, like you need to exert force or will to protect your family and your children. So just watch out however you might see this playing out in your own life, and just know that there will be a lot of competition and will and force and drive within you to kind of persevere no matter what might be standing in your way, no matter what obstacles or oppositions you're receiving from someone or something. So just make sure you are, doing this in a healthy manner, expressing your energy in a healthy way so that you aren't the one stepping on anybody else's toes. And then we'll move on to the eclipses. So this solar eclipse is going to be happening in the house of Gemini, in your 4th house, which is the home and family and property, and really like focusing on the home front and your inner emotional world. So this actually is really beautiful because this is like going to be bringing in maybe some more quiet time where you get to really spend more social time with family, spending time building up your house. Maybe this could even usher in a move for you, or you could be like redoing your home in some way or your property, and just really focusing more on the home front and the family, right? Then I see this lunar eclipse, which just passed May 26th. I just would like to go backwards a little bit, because before we move into the new beginnings, the new chapter in the home and family, this is asking you to release. And we are in this portal right now of releasing and letting go of something that no longer serves you, of what you're doing out in the world, your career, something that you're doing, or maybe some affiliation that you have with somebody who's in an important role of authority, power, control over you, that you might not be in, that might not serve you any longer. This could even just be your belief systems about what it is that you once wanted out in the world, your goals, the way that you wanted to be seen or perceived, and you might be shifting viewpoints on what would bring you the most joy. And maybe it has something to do with bringing that more of working at home, where you can be closer to your family, right? Where you can like involve your family in the things that you're doing. You can spend more time with your loved ones. So that overall is really positive and beautiful. But there is also a bit of a challenge or a tension that's happening in your 1st house of who you are. So you could be really struggling. It could be very unclear to you. There could be some confusion or deception or escapism that's going on here, because maybe there was something that you once wanted and everything is changing and you're kind of unclear about it. And your sense of identity is really changing. And you might have a hard time kind of letting go of some of the old things that you once wanted to be seen out in the world, or as it pertained to your career. And you're just having a little bit of a struggle here, trying to readapt your identity and who you really are as a person to all of these new beginnings and everything that's happening in your life. So you want to watch out that you don't try to escape reality, fall back into old addictive tendencies or patterns or habits, and that you are just really trying to sit down and think about this and really follow what your intuition is pulling you towards. Try to get out of that thinking mind so much and just surrender to whatever it is life is trying to bring you, because I guarantee you in the long run, it's going to be really beautiful and something that's going to bring you a lot of liberation in the long run. Okay, everybody, thank you so very much once again for watching another one of these weekly forecasts. We had such a big week in the astrology, and I hope that you benefited from this content. I'm excited for you guys all to tune in next week. Please, if you benefited, I always love to hear everybody's stories, and it really helps to continue on with my studies and helping me to learn when I see how these dynamics are taking place in your life. So go ahead, leave your sun and rising sign below and how you might resonate with the information that I've provided. And I would be happy to share some of my stories with you and add to your comments below. If you benefited, make sure to tap that like button and hit subscribe, because this not only shows YouTube that you really enjoy seeing this type of content, but you're really helping a small business and a small YouTube channel get themselves out there a little bit more. And I am so forever grateful for that, you guys. So thank you so much for your support, helping me to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I can't wait to grow to 2,000 now. So thank you once again. I love you guys so very much, and I will see you in the next video after this solar eclipse has transpired. So I'm wishing you the very best, sending you lots and lots of love, peace, and namaste.